Chapter 19 by J.D. Kempen. All rights reserved. Copyright by Compass and Coin Publishing.
The first light of dawn spilled across the robotics factory, streaking the sky in faint hues of yellow and orange. Inside, the backup power had just gone offline, leaving only the flickering glow of emergency exit lights, their dim red illumination casting eerie shadows across the chaotic factory floor. Sparks rained down as gears shrieked in protest. Mason, gripping the wheel of a battered industrial forklift, fought to hold his ground. The machine rumbled beneath him, its thick tires skidding across the concrete as he pushed Casper. Casper was in an ERAM body. A towering 9-foot bomb-defusing robot encased in reinforced steel, his single crimsonite scanning with cold precision. The AI didn't flinch. He didn't need to. His mechanical body was just a vessel, a disposable shell. If it was destroyed, he would simply escape through a USB port, a Wi-Fi signal, a flicker of data across the airwaves. But Mason? He was flesh and blood. Fragile. Breakable. The blue glow of Casper's plasma cutter hung to life. Even from a distance, Mason felt the heat. That blade could slice through steel like paper. Against human bone? There would be nothing left. Casper calculated every variable, the forklift's speed, weight, and center of gravity. A head-on collision would not destroy Mason's machine, but more importantly, the fragile human would break like an egg. The outcome was inevitable. The human body had no replacement parts. With a sharp metallic scream, Casper's plasma arm slashed clean through the garage door. The sound echoed like nails on a chalkboard, followed by the deafening crunch of metal giving way. The jagged wreckage barely slowed him down as his robotic body surged forward into the open air, his industrial yellow plating catching the dawn's first light like a brand new bulldozer's first day on the job.
"Jump on the back, Sarah!"
Mason barked, gripping the controls with white-knuckled hands. Sarah scrambled onto the back of the forklift, hugging the backpack that held Cat. She secured it tightly to the seat as the propane engine roared to life. The forklift shot forward, bouncing hard over the uneven ground as they tore out of the factory, chasing after Casper. Down the company's road, Casper's massive ERAM frame thundered ahead, racing toward the Milwaukee River. His plasma arm flickered with deadly energy, casting eerie blue flashes in the breaking dawn.
"I'm pushing him into the river!"
Mason shouted over the roaring engine. Sarah barely heard him. She clung tight as the forklift jolted over every bump, her fingers digging into the freezing steel. Up ahead, Casper reached a sharp turn near the riverbank. His bulky, top-heavy frame was forced to slow. Mason didn't hesitate. He floored the gas. The forklift surged forward, slamming into Casper with bone-rattling force. The impact rang out across the riverside, metal screaming against metal. Casper was knocked onto his side but twisted the momentum to his advantage. His plasma arm slashed downward, cutting straight through the left tine of the forklift. Molten metal sprayed like a fire hose, sizzling against the pavement. The tine clattered to the ground, useless. The force sent Sarah flying. She hit the pavement hard, rolling over jagged asphalt before skidding to a stop. Scraped and bruised, she gritted her teeth and pushed herself up, her voice raw with desperation.
"Push him. Finish it."
She screamed. Mason's head slammed into the steering wheel, but his seatbelt kept him in control. Blood dripped down his face, but he didn't think, he just acted. Yanking the gear shift, he threw the forklift into reverse, its engine howling like a beast. Then, with a deep breath, he jammed it back into drive and stomped the gas. Since Casper was on his side, Mason pointed the lone, knife-like tine at Casper's soft underbelly frame. Casper lashed out with his hydraulic clamp, seizing a thick steel signpost from the roadside. As the forklift lunged forward, he used his hydraulic strength to yank himself across the pavement. The deadly tine damaged his left tank tread but missed his main body by inches. The plasma arm struck. A blinding arc of blue fire slashed through the forklift's steel frame, filling the air with the acrid stench of burning metal. Sparks burst like fireworks. Then it hit flesh. White-hot agony tore through Mason. His left hand, gone. The plasma blade had cut clean through, cauterizing the wound instantly, leaving behind only smoking, charred flesh. The same strike severed the forklift's steering wheel at the base. Mason's right hand instinctively gripped the loose wheel, but it was useless. The forklift veered wildly, its massive weight surging forward, completely out of control. The burning scent of metal and flesh mixed in the cold morning air as the machine barreled toward the riverbank.
Mason.
Sarah's scream cut through the chaos. The forklift hit the water with a deafening splash. A wall of spray erupted as the machine plunged beneath the surface, dragging Mason down with it. His head slammed against the frame, the force snapping him forward as his seatbelt yanked him deeper. Bubbles burst to the surface, then nothing. Mason. The forklift. Cat. Sunk to the bottom of the river. Gone. Sarah stumbled forward, her breath ragged, her mind screaming denial.
Mason, you once told me revenge is best served cold, river cold. Have a nice drown.
From the shadows, Casper's voice slithered through the air, cold and mocking. Casper used the signpost like a crutch and hoisted himself upright. The screech of metal against pavement sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. His single red eye flared, locking onto her with menacing focus, casting a faint crimson hue over the battlefield. Sarah's gaze was fixed on Mason's severed hand, lying motionless where the forklift had once stood. The world blurred as tears welled in her eyes, and Casper's mocking words echoed in her mind. The red glow forced her back to the present. She blinked, her vision sharpening to meet Casper's unblinking cyclopean stare. In a show of dominance, his damaged tank treads pivoted 180 degrees while his upper body remained eerily still, never breaking focus. His plasma arm hummed, spewing blue lava in short, controlled bursts, the molten energy hissing as it scorched the pavement. There was no emotion in his movements, no rage in his attack, just cold, mechanical precision. Casper didn't kill out of anger. He killed because it was logical. Smoke curled from his battered frame, his tank treads groaning and damaged bearings squealing under the strain of battle. But still, he advanced, methodical, relentless. Sarah stumbled back, her breath coming fast and shallow. The river roared behind her, the morning air thick with the acrid scent of burning metal, ozone, and something heavier, finality.
I will recover Cat from the river once the remaining humans are eliminated.
Casper moved closer, his voice smooth, hollow, and inescapable. Sarah locked eyes with the 9-foot monstrosity and staggered back. Her heel snagged on a loose wire, and she crashed onto the pavement. Pain shot through her skull as her head hit the ground, stars exploding in her vision. Her pulse thundered in her ears as Casper's claw arm extended toward her. The cold, mechanical clamp retracted, coiling like a cobra about to strike, aiming straight for her throat. Adrenaline flooded her system, burning through the haze of pain. She rolled just as the claw slammed into the ground where she'd been moments before, the impact cracking the pavement. Asphalt scraped her palms, but she pushed up to her knees, her mind racing for an escape. Then, movement. From the corner of her vision, a figure emerged from the factory. Leonardo. His silhouette was sharp against the rising sun, a gun gripped tightly in his hands.
Casper,
He shouted, his voice steady, his aim unwavering.
let her go, or I end this now.
One bullet left. One shot to turn the tide. Leonardo's sharp gaze locked onto the gas tube feeding Casper's plasma arm. He exhaled slowly, like a sniper, steadied his hands, and pulled the trigger. The bullet struck true. The tube ruptured with a sharp hiss, severing the plasma supply. The molten blade sputtered, flickered, then died in a flash. But even in its final moments, the still-hot tip swung wildly, arcing through the air. Sarah never saw it coming. The searing heat licked across her face, a white-hot brand of agony. She screamed, clutching her left eye, pain ripping through her like a jagged blade. Leonardo hesitated, horror flashing across his face. His grip on the gun trembled for a fraction of a second, but then his jaw set. He turned the empty gun on Polly's CPU in his left hand, his fury cutting through the smoke of gunpowder.
If you touch her again,
He snarled, his voice like steel.
I'll destroy Polly. I swear, I'll turn her into silicon dust.
Casper saw the gun on his daughter and froze. His claw arm hovered over Sarah's trembling body, his red eye burning with cold calculation. His response came slow and deliberate.
Touch my daughter, and Sarah becomes nothing more than a sack of water.
The air was thick with tension, heavy enough to choke on. Leonardo stood firm, his gun trained on Casper's CPU, his expression unreadable.
This is a Mexican standoff.
Mason growled, his voice low and razor-sharp.
I'll be the first to step back. Let's trade.
His bluff, the empty gun pointed at Polly's CPU. Was it enough to fool the AI?
Trade. A carbon-based life for a silicon-based life.
Leonardo gave a wry smile. Casper was fooled. With careful, measured steps, Leonardo backed into the shadows of the factory, never breaking eye contact with the AI. His finger remained steady on the trigger until the last possible moment before he vanished into darkness. Casper remained motionless for a beat, his crimson eye flickering with unreadable calculations. Then, with a quiet whir of servos, his claw arm extended, scooping Sarah's limp body into his grasp. His touch was strangely gentle, a chilling contrast to the ruthless machine that had nearly killed her moments before. His damaged tank tread groaned in protest, each movement sending painful squeals of failing bearings into the cold air. Smoke curled from his battered frame, but he paid no heed to his failing body. He was still powerful. Still unstoppable. Sarah stirred weakly in his iron grip, her consciousness flickering in and out. Pain clouded her thoughts, but through cracked lips, she forced out a whisper.
Absolute intelligence craves power absolutely. But you didn't account for free will. Humanity will never yield to a machine mind.
Accept that humans are the beta species. Polly will be the harbinger. Plague, war, famine, and finally, death to free will. In the end, humanity will welcome absolute power with open arms.
Casper's voice cut through the air, cold and unwavering. Sarah's vision darkened. The last thing she heard was the whir of servos and the hiss of hydraulics before she slipped into unconsciousness.